Okay, everyone. So this is all about job searching part 2. We're going to talk a little bit about what you missed in part 1 if you didn't come to part 1. And at the end of the workshop today, we're still going to send you these slides so that you can have them as well. Okay? So what we talked about last week is when you apply for jobs, the most important thing that you need to think about is, what is my career? What is that job that I'm interested in? Do I have the experience for this job? Do I have the education for this job? How long do I want to do this job? That's the difference that we like to talk about here in the United States, that there's jobs and then there's careers. Right? So if it's your career, then that's something that you plan to do for a long time. So what is my career that I'm thinking about? When you apply for jobs, you need time to apply for jobs. So plan ahead. Think about when is the best time for you to apply for jobs. It could be more, and it's going to be different for everybody. Could be morning, afternoon, evening, but you wanna separate some time to apply for the jobs. Okay. You want to update your resume and your cover letter. Raise your hand if you have a resume right now. Okay. I won't be able to see all your hands, but if you have a resume, raise your hand. If you don't, it's okay. Resumes are very important to update because when we apply for jobs, we want our resume to have the information that the job we are applying for, that's what they're looking for. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay. So you have to update your resume. Cover letters. We'll talk some jobs that you apply for, you're going to need cover letters. So if the application asks for a resume and a cover letter, you want to make sure that you have both. Okay. There's a lot of job search resources that you have online. And like I said, we're going to email you these slides that you have them. But just to give you a few, Google, LinkedIn, and Indeed, those are perhaps the top 3 websites that you can use to help you search for jobs. Okay. You customize your resume. So if I'm going to work in education, then I have to customize my resume so that I write about experience that relates to education. If I've been working in construction, then those 2 jobs really don't match, right? I have experience, but it's in a totally different career or industry. So you want to customize your resume so that when you apply for the job, your resume has what that job is looking for, okay? If you think about the company that you want to work for, we research them. Social media has a lot of information about what companies do. So we have to research, we have to take advantage of the tools and resources that the internet has to do that type of research about what type of companies we want to work for, right? And this is perhaps the most important point. When you apply for jobs, you apply with confidence, right? You are more likely to get a yes or get that job if you're thinking confidently, if you're thinking positively. And the same thing when you go to the interview. If you're thinking positive, if you're speaking with confidence, you're more likely to get that job, right? If my attitude is, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get this job, my English is okay, you don't want to apply for jobs that way. Does that make sense? Be confident, be positive. If you're in the transition of one job to another, then you want to finish and you want to be successful in your current job before you go to a new job. Okay. So just because I'm going from one job to another, that doesn't mean that I'm just going to not be as dedicated and hardworking in my current job. So you still want to be a really good employee before you go to that new job. Okay. And network. How many of you have Facebook? Everybody has Facebook, right? Well, LinkedIn is Facebook for professionals. Okay. So with LinkedIn, you have the opportunity to talk to people about current or upcoming job opportunities, job fairs, trainings, conferences, whatever it may be. LinkedIn is a website where you can network and talk to people about what job opportunities do I have in this industry or with this company, right? This is a very job searching culture where we talk about it's important for you to know somebody. So if I know Deb, and Deb and I work in the same industry or in the same field, and she works for a company that I would like to work for, then I network with her, right? Because she already works for the company, they know her, and if I apply, then they can see that connection to say, well, Deb is one of our great employees. If she recommends somebody, it's because this is a good worker. So that's how you start to build networking little by little. Sometimes it's difficult when most of your network connections are not here, they're in your country. But you can still network through LinkedIn, through email. As long as you have somebody that can talk about your professional experience, that's your reference. Okay. How many references should we have? 2 to 3. Okay, 2 to 3. Can your reference be your mom or your father, your husband or your wife? Don't do that. Okay, a previous manager or a director. I think coworker is also good too. If you've lost contact with the previous manager or director you worked for, but always have 2 to 3 contacts and their contact information as their reference. Okay. So today we'll talk about identifying your skills, what you need to do to prepare for your interview, follow up after your interview, expand on your skills, and then we'll look at how you can apply for jobs using LinkedIn, Indeed, or Google. And then for those of you who did your homework, thank you, Andre. You'll have some time to go over your resume and your cover letter with Barb. Okay. So I'm ready to apply for a job, right? You have to talk about your personal experiences and in your resume. What are your achievements? You have to talk about these things in your cover letter, and there's something called the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. So for example, in this picture, you can see that I've got some cameras here and I have a laptop here. There's something that's not working right now. That's the situation. The task is I need to get the camera and the laptop to work, but they're not working right now. So what action am I going to take? I'm going to find whatever I can find to temporarily allow the students to connect with their teacher, because this was a Zoom class. So the students weren't able to see the teacher with this laptop, so I had to get another laptop. Or if that didn't work, every student had to connect with their phone until I got the laptop and the camera to work. Was it difficult? in the beginning, yes, right? Because you don't expect these problems to happen. But when they happen, you have to think quick about what can I do to fix this problem, right? Because that's what managers are looking for when you're applying to jobs. Can you problem solve? And if you have a problem, do you fix it? Or if because you're stressed and under pressure, maybe you get nervous and you don't fix it, right? So think about those things, your achievements, your success. There's a lot of reasons why somebody is interviewing you. It could be because the company is growing and they need more people. The person that the last person that had the position that you're interviewing for, maybe they're leaving to another job, so they're looking for somebody, or they did a bad job and now they're looking for somebody. So the manager is just as stressed as you are, because if I'm doing a job interview for a position and I have to interview 6 people, even if the first person is really good, right? So I'm just as nervous as the person who's interviewing. So if the next person that I'm going to give the job to, they have to talk about their achievements so that I can see that this person is going to be very successful at this job because they've explained in their cover letter or their resume that they have the skills and the experience to problem solve or to do this job really well. Okay. I was very nervous at first, but I fixed the problem. So problem solved, okay? When you're preparing for your interview, right? And we talked about this, I think, last month or August. Can't remember if we did resume writing or interviewing first, but there's some very common questions that you can ask, that you get asked in your interview. Research what some of those questions are and practice them as you're getting ready for your interview, right? It's the same thing as an English test. If this is an English class and I say to everybody, tomorrow we have a test, are you going to go home and study for the test or watch TV? Anybody? Are you going to study for the test or watch TV?
I'm gonna study.
You have to study, right?
Yeah.
Or if I say, if you ask me, but you don't know what this test is about, right? So you say, teacher, what chapters is the test on? And I'll say, tomorrow's test is on chapter 3. So you have to study chapter 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same thing with an interview. If you Google some common interview questions and you start to practice them, we're also going to send you some common interview questions that we have for our interview workshop. Practice with yourself as you're doing that interview. Okay, the more you practice, the better you will do with your interview. Okay, once you finished your interview, the professional thing to do is to send the manager a thank you letter. Okay, that could be an email. That's the fastest way to do it. But some managers really like the idea of somebody sending them a physical letter as a thank you. It really shows that you take the time to show the manager you appreciate the opportunity and that you're really interested in the job. I don't know if anybody's sending physical letters anymore, but it's an option that you have, okay? Practice makes perfect. You can practice for the interview 10 times. I would say practice 10 more times. You can never practice enough for an interview. And the best thing that you can do to practice is to practice in front of a mirror so that you can practice as if you're looking at the person that's interviewing you, okay? And then we have what we call an update job application spreadsheet. And I'm going to share this with you guys at the end because it's not on this presentation, but this is something that everybody can use to organize all of the information that they have about their job searching process. And you can do this on paper, you can do this on your computer, but it's very helpful if you're applying to multiple jobs. This can help you organize yourself so that you know which job did I apply to, which one do I have an interview with, which one, did I send a thank you email to, and I'll show you what it looks like. But it can really help you to organize your time and your work as you apply for jobs. Okay. Wrong slide. Okay. So the thank you letter, it's very important. Email, like I said, is the quickest way to do it. Letter would be more formal. And I guess it just depends if any of the Barbs want to chime in here. Maybe for those kind of maybe for those jobs where they do ask you for a resume and cover letter, does it speak better does it speak better about you to send a formal paper written letter, thank you letter? Or should we always just go the email route because it's the fastest way to do it?
Raul, from my corporate experience, I would say if you're going to send a hard letter in snail mail on paper, you should also send an email because it's more immediate and it's going to take a little while before you get the other one. I'm not sure it's particularly important today. It used to be when we didn't have the option of email. But if you choose to do that, then just be sure that you've also acknowledged and thanked the person for their time as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Melinda, I think you wanted to say something, but you were muted.
Yeah, I was going to second that. I think that because so many people are still working remotely, that, the preferred way to do it would be by email. And, if you wanted to follow up with a hard copy, you could, but I think you have better assurance that you're going to reach that person more quickly. So kind of dovetailing on what Deb said, yeah.
And here's one of those questions that usually gets asked a lot. And it's about following up, and when we have to follow up, that's necessary and professional to do. But the question that comes up a lot is, when should I do it? Because I don't want the company to feel like I'm trying to pressure them to call me or email me to say, Raul, you have the job, right? But at the same time, what I've normally heard people talk about this topic is you normally want to wait a week from when you send the thank you email to when you follow up, and either via email or a phone call. I would just like to follow up on the interview that I did last week. Are we on the same page there? It's a week is a good amount of time to wait to do it.
One of the things that you probably want to do in the interview is to ask somebody when they're expecting to make a decision, and then use that as the time frame. So if they say I'm going to be interviewing still for another 3 weeks, and you call in a week, they're not going to know, and then you're just going to annoy them. So think about that time frame where you've asked how long it's going to take them to make a decision, and use that as a good guide.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Deb. And the last point I'd like to make here is if you've applied to one job, you don't want to wait or expect that this is the only job that you're going to get. Because if they say no, then I have a problem. I was expecting to get this job and now I didn't get it. Now where do I apply? So even if they say yes, you do want to give yourself the opportunity to have some options about which job opportunity is the best one for me. In terms of what is important to you, whether it's the benefits, the distance, the commuting, can I work from home or not? Or is it a little bit of both? There's a lot of things that we think about because it's a priority to us about what the job needs to have in order for me to want to apply for it. Okay, so apply to multiple jobs at the same time while you wait for the answer from one of the jobs. Okay. If you're going to have a job in the United States for the first time, maybe it's a good opportunity to get some more training. You can apply for an internship, or you can volunteer for an organization that is within the same field or industry that you want to do. They might not pay you for the service, but it's good experience that you're starting to build before you apply for the job. Okay. You have to continue to network because, like I said, if Deb or Melinda is working for a company that I would like to work for, then this person knows when there's a job opportunity available. And they can tell you, we have an opening for this position. Here's the link to apply for the job. Or they can tell you, you have to talk to this person to apply for this job, whatever it may be. If you network with the right people, you can also learn about job opportunities that way. Because of the pandemic, we still have all of these great classes and workshops that are happening online that you can take for job development, professional development, whatever it may be. Hopefully soon you can do in-person classes and workshops, but take advantage of classes and workshops that are available online. They're very helpful. And of course, as you go doing different things that help you build your experience, you have to put that in your resume. That's why it's a good thing to check your resume and update it as needed as you go about gaining more experience in different areas. Okay. Keep going back to the previous slide. Okay. Okay. So if you're going to apply for, how many of you have heard of Indeed? Anybody? Students? No? Indeed?
Would you repeat your question, please?
Have you heard of Indeed.com?
No.
Yes. Yes. One time I did buy Indeed, but
Okay.
I didn't answer any.
It's okay. So Indeed is another website like LinkedIn that many people use to look for jobs. And the good thing about it is that you can apply for jobs in your area. So if you live in Kensington, Maryland, like I did in this example, you're going to find jobs that are near Kensington, Maryland. You know, I don't know about you, but I would not want to drive to my job if my job is 1 hour and 30 minutes away from my house. And that's with no traffic. If you can imagine the traffic and you're driving to your job 2 hours in the morning to get to the job, and then 2 hours when you finish the job, that's 4 hours of driving a day. It's a long time.
Yeah.
A very long time. But some people are okay with that. But
Can I ask
that's
a
the good
question?
thing about Indeed. You can search for jobs, and this is why you can see how I have in this picture. There's two critical ways that you can search for jobs. What type of job and where do you want these jobs to be? And
Can I
one,
ask a question?
yes,
Before I apply one site to, for example, for Ross store, because I saw the sign is hiring, but when I give all my information, they give all my information with different companies, and I receive too much email for job to take this job, that job. We have opportunity. This website is safe to get all my information to them if I wanted to apply.
yes,
Okay.
yes, definitely. You can upload your resume to Indeed, because believe it or not, managers are looking for people who put their resumes on Indeed.
Mhm.
And if they find your resume and they like your experience, they can email you and say, Tahare, I would like to interview you for this position.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely.
So the one thing that you just need to be a little careful about is how much information you put on your resume. So if you, Raul, if you want to send them the resume information, or if we go over it when we have a little time at the end,
Mhm.
there are things that you shouldn't put on your resume and post it. You should not put your address. You should not put your social security number. And you should not put anything that's other than really your name and your email and your phone number, so that somebody can get
Yeah,
in
I
touch
did.
with you.
Just I put the base of my information, like email and my phone number, but every day, a bunch of the email I receive it, everybody call to me, are you looking for a job? I say, oh, sorry, I don't want it, I changed my mind. Because it's very hard, and I'm so sad everybody has my phone and has my email. That's why I don't know which website is safe to go and involve for searching to get a job. That's why I ask this website is safe or not.
Yep. One website that a lot of people used to use for job searching is Craigslist. And
Mhm.
Craigslist, you could have some people calling you, which were not calling you for, yeah. That one I wouldn't trust very much. But this one, like Deb said, if you just put your email and not your full address, just the city and state,
Okay.
then that's enough for them to contact you if they would like to interview you.
Thank you.
Okay. So another way that you can search for jobs on Indeed is that you'll see when you go to Indeed, here's the option to upload your resume. Of course, you'd have to create an account before you do that, but it's free. And then once you create your account, you can upload your resume. And then you can look for what are some of the popular job searches that people are doing. Amazon, FedEx, healthcare, store associate, immediately hiring. All of these are things that people are typing as they're looking for jobs. So you'll always see what are some of the popular searches right now, but you can always search for other job or careers that you're interested in.
Mm.
Okay. And then we have Google. Everybody uses Google, right?
Yes.
Almost every day. Some of you might not have known before today that you can search for jobs on Google as well. So For example, I did this example for you. Let's say that I want to work in customer service. And I know that I live in Silver Spring, so I already know that I don't want to go to a city in Maryland that's too far from me. But I have to see what options are there. So just to start, I would say customer service jobs in Maryland, okay? If you type what you're looking for in the Google search bar, and you have to type jobs as your search term, okay? So that you can see what I'm about to show you on the next slide. So you type and it doesn't matter if it's customer service. It can be medical jobs, it can be restaurant jobs, retail jobs. As long as you type jobs in the search terms, you will see what I'm going to show you on the next slide. Okay. And so right away, I can see these 3 job announcements. Okay. This one is in Riverdale, this one is in Owings Mills, and this one, it doesn't say. Okay. So once you see that, but at the top, you can also see, I can also search for jobs this way. Full-time, part-time. Does the job require me to have a degree? Maybe no degree. Can I work from home? You have all of these options that you can use to better filter your job search terms. But then these 3 are not enough. I want to see more. Click on where it says 100 plus more jobs. And once you click here, then you're going to see this on your screen. So let's say you see all of these other jobs, and you see where it says new job alerts. There's this white button here. When I push on this button, then that is telling Google that I want Google to email me every customer service job in Maryland once it's on the internet. And you can find it through Google. That's how they email me, because I have a Gmail account. So on this picture, you can see that the button is not turned on yet. When you turn on the button, then you see this. You see a little bell. Alerts are on for this search. So every time there's a new job announcement for customer service jobs in Maryland, I'm going to get an email from Google with all of the customer service jobs that I'm looking for. Okay. So here's what I have to do. At the top of your screen, you're going to see jobs, saved, and alerts. Okay. You want to click on alerts because these are the emails that Google is going to send you. Okay. Once you click on alerts, then you're going to see these 3 options: instantly, daily, and weekly. It just depends on how important is the job announcement to you. If it's instantly, you're going to get many, many emails. If it's daily, you'll get 1 email a day. If it's weekly, then you'll get 1 email a week. You choose whatever is best for you, but Google is going to email you the job announcements for the jobs that you're looking for, whether it's customer service or any job. Make sense? So very important that you have a Gmail account in order to do this, okay? All right. So this is the end of part 2. Any questions so far?
Oh, thank you.
Everything good?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Andre, I'm going to give you some time to meet with Barbara, okay?
Thank you.
You're going to see a button that says join on your screen right now. just click on join, all right?
Okay.
And have fun.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay. So, no questions at all,
Not you.
or many questions?
Not yet.
Thank you.
Everything clear?
For now, yes.
Okay. We're going to show you some things now to help you to talk about the resume writing piece. Thank you, Deb, for sharing it. Just let me open it for you.
Do you want me to unshare?
Oh, you're sharing now? Oh, there we go. That's fine.
I am, but I can't stay past the 3 o'clock mark, so we might have to take over.
No worries.
Okay, Anne, you want to start?
Okay, so what is a resume? So a resume is a formal document. So we want to be very clear on that. It is formal. It does have some rules that go with how to write it. Okay, so you have to be aware it is a document that you don't just throw together. It has certain ways of being put together that an employer is looking for. Okay, it starts at the top with your name and your contact information. And as Deb said, this is usually not all your information, just phone number and email. It does have a summary of all your experience. And again, be aware, this doesn't want to go on for pages and pages. Usually the resume is about a couple of pages. So you'll want to be very concise and clear about the important parts of your work experience. It shows your professional qualifications. It shows your work experience. You should have a section that talks about your skills and your abilities. There'll also be a piece about your education. This may only be a high school education, or maybe you have a degree, or maybe you have some certifications. And it also will include any notable accomplishments. So for example, you might have received an award, or something may have happened that you may have been specially honored. So any kind of accomplishment that you think is worth mentioning, you should also include that as well.
So why should you have a resume? You should have a resume because, as Raul was telling you, it helps the employers decide that you're the right person for the job and that they want to hire you. And it's usually required for any jobs in the United States. And like Anne just explained, it tells why you're qualified. And the other thing is that it's going to help you get organized and prepared for your job search. So all of those things that Raul just talked about knowing and being prepared, is something that putting your resume together will help you do. So you want to do that. And then again, you're going to more likely get an interview if you have a good resume. And then when you have the interview, the person who's talking to you, who's interviewing you, is going to use that resume as the basis. That's how they're going to know what to ask you and what to talk to you about.
All right, so what are the parts of this resume? So as was just mentioned, you will put your contact information at the top, name, phone number and email, a LinkedIn address if you have it. So if as Raul said, if you belong to LinkedIn, there may be a LinkedIn address that you can also add. Do not put your home street address or anything else, and especially never put your social security number. There's going to be an introduction piece. So this is where you will usually state your objective or your goal. So typically what kind of job you're looking for, like as Raul pointed out, I am looking for a job in customer service, something like that, so that the person reading the resume knows what you're looking for. And you'll put some key qualifications at the top also. So again, the most important things to know about you that would make you ideal for this job, that's where you would put those. Keep it brief. Then you'll put your work history and experience. You start usually with the most recent. So it doesn't go working from, high school onwards. It starts with what you've done most recently, because usually that's going to be the most relevant. If, however, you've just had a couple of, say, small part-time jobs just to fill in time, perhaps after you moved to the United States from another country, and they were really only fill-in jobs, they weren't really your career jobs or your important jobs, then you can do it the other way around. You do need to put the most relevant thing first, okay? So usually it's the most recent, but not always. And you're going to include the job title, if you had one, the company that you worked for, and the dates employed. And note that, for example, you don't need to put, May the 5th, 2016, something like that. You can just put the months and the year, or even maybe just the year if it was a long period of time, if it was 10 years, something like that. Okay, so just to give the person a good idea of about how long you worked for that company. And you're going to put what your key responsibilities were, and again, any accomplishments. So it may be a job that it's pretty obvious what you did, but many times you've had a job where it's not obvious what you were responsible for. So it's very important. This is a very key piece, that you make it clear what the job was, what your responsibilities were, and especially anything that you might have done that might not be so obvious from the job title. Okay, so this is an important place to be very clear what your job was and what you did in that job. And then you're going to put your education, again, as we said, any kinds of certifications you had, trainings you did, anything like that. And again, it will usually be the most recent first. And then you're going to add any other relevant information. It's always good to put some of your skills and abilities, because they might not have shown so clearly in your work history and experience. But this is a good place, to say, I am very well organized, I'm a team player, that kind of thing. And another very important piece can be your volunteer experience. So many of us have done volunteer work that doesn't really fit in another category because we weren't paid for it, but it can be very important. And sometimes it fills a gap that otherwise might look as if you weren't particularly working or getting experience. So for example, I served on some committees while my children were growing up. So my work history would reflect kind of an absence, but actually I did do quite a lot of volunteer work. And I learned a lot of very useful skills doing that volunteer work. So again, you do need to keep the resume, as I said before, to 2 pages. So don't include everything you've ever done. But if you have some significant volunteer experience, especially where it showed maybe that you were a leader, you organized something, or maybe you were in charge of something, maybe you led a team of other people doing something. So very important to think about that and include it if appropriate.
Can I ask a question?
Yes?
Of course. Mhm.
For writing a resume, how many years you have to explain for them? For example, if I stay here, I came here long time ago,
Mhm.
maybe 28 years ago.
Mhm.
They need how many years to know about my personality? 10 years, 5 years, all of them? I don't know.
So I think I would say it really depends. Again, you don't want to put every single thing you've ever done, especially if it was only, maybe you worked for a company for 10 years, include that, obviously. Maybe before that you were raising children or something and you just had a couple of part-time jobs. Maybe you don't need to include that. Mostly, I think, and see if Deb agrees with me here, but you want to keep the resume brief and relevant. So if you're applying for a job, you want to keep things relevant to that job, not have the person who's reading it be distracted by a lot of information that's not so important. So I would say you want to put in the important things. And certainly can go back, quite a ways. But again, it really depends on whether what you've done is important and relevant. If it just filled in a little bit of time here and there, and it doesn't really add to your resume or show better skills, then you can just either put it just as a line or leave it out altogether. Deb?
It is right if you have a 2-page resume. Somebody told me if you write it more than 1 page, nobody read it. Just try to keep it in 1 page, all your skills, all your experience, or everything.
So 1 page is not much if you do include several sections. I think, and again, Deb, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think we suggest absolutely no more than 2 pages. If you can get it on 1 page, that's great, but don't be leaving out a lot of important things just to try and get it on 1 page. Deb, what do you think?
Yeah, so the other thing to think about is if you had a lot of jobs that were similar over a long period of time, you can put them all together and just say that there were various companies that you did that kind of work. So like Raul's example was a sales associate.
Okay.
And if you were a sales associate at a lot of different stores, but you did it for 20 years, don't list 20 different things, just put sales associate over those years. And so the amount that you can summarize things and make like Anne said, the most important part is the thing that you're going to try to do. If you can do 1 page and you've covered everything that's important, that's super. If you need 2 pages, that's okay. You never, ever, ever, I'm going to say never, ever, ever go more than 2 pages. And the reason is because it looks like you're not organized.
Okay, thank you.
And so, when I look at things like that, I go, you know what, this person is not going to be organized in the job either. If they couldn't be organized on the resume, then they can't be organized in the job working for me. And so I don't really want to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is kind of looking at some of those things that we just talked about. You want to make sure it's short, easy to read. You want to make sure that there's no spelling or grammar. So do a couple things. If you use a Word or a Google Docs, those have built-in spell checkers. Use that, but also let somebody else look at it and make sure that there's no things that they see. Because again, if I get a resume where I have a lot of things that don't look right, I'm going to go, this person wasn't careful. And I want somebody who works for me to be careful about making sure that things look right before they start applying for a job. Because they're looking for a job. They want me to hire them. And if they aren't paying attention to what's going to be important to me when they're applying, I think they might not be important when they're working. And so we make a lot of assumptions about a person from their resume. Just understand that whether they're right or wrong, we make assumptions. Okay, and you don't say, I did this. You use very, very active verbs. You say what you did, like Raul and Anne have told you, but also say why it was important. So could be lots and lots of people who are sales associates, But if you helped grow your department, or you got more sales, or you were the store employee of the month, those are really important things to say why it was important. And then you want to tell the person who's interviewing you through your resume, what are the skills that are important for that job that you're applying for, right? And so that means that you might have to have a couple different resumes if you're applying for different kinds of jobs. So it might be that there are more important skills for the different kinds of jobs that you think might be okay for you. And then you might need different resumes to highlight, to emphasize those particular areas. So when Raul sends you these slides, you're going to see some examples. Anne, if you can finish up, I can't stay on very much longer, but I'll try to stay on just a little bit longer.
Okay. So how do you create a good resume? And do remember, you can always give more information at the interview, which is why you don't need to write every single little thing you've ever done on your resume. Okay. The hope with the resume is that somebody sees it and will give you an interview. Okay. So bear that in mind when you're writing these things. So don't give your middle school information. Only give the high school information if all you have is a high school diploma. Okay, if you have beyond that, you really can just give what comes after high school. Don't give your GPA if it wasn't good. As Deb just said, use passive language. Don't say I did something. Say, responsibilities included, something like that. Don't use that I. Don't include a photo. Don't list jobs that didn't last very long unless there's a real reason to do that because you haven't had much employment. Okay, but in the big scheme of things, if you had years and years of employment, you don't want to include something that just lasted a few months. Don't give information that can cause discrimination. So don't talk about your citizenship, whether you're married or not, whether you have children or not, that kind of thing, whether you look after your aging mother. Don't give any of that kind of personal information, okay? That's not required, and usually it's not a good idea to include it for a lot of reasons. Don't give out, and again, we can't stress this enough, don't give out your home address, never ever give out your social security number, okay? This is a document that, especially if you're uploading it to the internet, a lot of people will see it, so do not include those pieces.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
For people like us, when we moved from different country to come to here, some of us has a degree from our country. But how we can include it in our resume?
So you just include it as if it's a degree. So as if it's a degree, from wherever it is. Now, if your degree has a name that's in a foreign language, you might need to translate that. So for example, if it says it's some kind of a degree, but it's in a foreign language and it's not clear, then you might need to, specify, give the English translation of the name of the university, for example, or you might a little one-line explanation about what it is if it's a certificate. Okay, so you might need to do a little translation or explanation, but certainly to include it, yeah, because it's a piece of higher education and you've earned that. And then again, the person will read it and maybe ask you more about it at the interview, okay? But do include it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and so I just want to real quickly say that this is an example. You'll get the slides from Raul. But look at the way that this is organized. Now, to answer your question before, Tahira, this is a one-page document. And this is a person who has put everything on one page. It's very clear what kind of administrative assistant job that they want. There's lots of white space. It's easy to read. It's short. She used active verbs, which is good, and she described the benefits of the company. So she said on this particular thing, you probably can't read it real well, but she said she developed a new filing system and that saved the company $3,000 a year. So that was a big advantage to having that particular piece of work done by this person, Kelly, right? Now, she did put her street address in here, which we don't think is a good idea. And so I think, somebody, I forget even who said, that they were getting a lot of people looking at that. You don't want people looking up where you live. So that's not something that you should do. And real quickly, this is a different one, but you can also see that it's easy to read. And there's a good summary of the qualifications here on this one. And that there's active verbs, but this person didn't say what advantage she brought to the company. And that's something that if we were trying to make it a little bit better, we would say she should have it. But if you look at what she put at the top, she put her name and a phone number and an email, and that's it. Okay? All right.
Sorry, I have more question. I'm so sorry.
Mhm.
If you back another slide, you put the salary, you put the number for saving. Is it good to put included in resume or or we have to wait until to interview? They ask us.
The salary that you want to get paid, you wait. You wait to the interview.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This
That's
is if you made money for the company. If you
Oh.
sold more things for the company, or
Oh.
if you saved them money, then you put that in the resume. But all of the things about what your salary would be or what the health benefits are, you wait until they want to hire you. Okay.
Just like
And then you talk to them about that. You don't do it when you're applying.
by resume, they know already everything about us, but I don't know what question they have asked me in the interview,
Okay, well, Rahul's going to send you some questions, I think, right?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we could briefly say we did put together some questions that were asked most often.
Mhm.
So there's like half a dozen questions. You can also hit Google and say, what interview questions might I be asked if I'm applying for a job? And it will bring up, over and over the same about 10 questions or so. They're pretty straightforward, and, it will be things like, what did you achieve at your last job? What was your biggest achievement? Why do you want to work for this company? Why should we hire you? Not the same question. But again, you can easily Google that, and a lot of
Thank
questions.
you. I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. That was
You're welcome. We like answering questions. Don't be afraid to ask.
good.
Was that the last slide, Deb?
It was.
Okay. So does anyone have any more questions? Otherwise, we'll hand it back to Raul. All right, Raul, I think we're good.
I think we're good. Barb and Andre need some more time, so I put them in the bigger room. I'm searching for the job application sheet that I wanted to share with you guys to give you an idea of what that looks like. Sorry. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
So as you start, remember, you don't want to just apply to one job and put all of your hopes and expectations with that one job. You want to apply to multiple jobs. And so as you apply to multiple jobs, you want to document your process by typing in these things. And you can change this to how you need it to be for you, but this is just to give you some ideas. So in this first column, you can write, what is the position I'm applying for? In the second column, you can, and again, you can change this to how you need it to be, but this is just an example. I can put here, is it full-time or part-time? For column C, you can put the source. Where did I find this job application? Did I find it on LinkedIn? Did I find it on Indeed? Did I find it on Google or other? What documents does the job application ask me for? Do they want a resume, cover letter, or both? Is remote work available? So can I work from home all the time, or do I need to go into the office, or maybe I need to do both? What is the salary? You can choose what is that salary that you're looking for. The benefits, everybody has different benefits that they're looking for. You can type those in. And where am I in this process? Have I talked to a manager? Did I complete an application? Did I apply online? Did I schedule an interview? Am I waiting for the manager because I sent a follow-up email? Or did I send a thank you letter? And you can add as many things as you need to about the process part. And then under contact, you can write the name and the email or the phone number of the person that you're talking to throughout the process of applying to this job. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
So I'm going to share this with all of you in addition to the slides that the Barbs were just sharing, as well as the slides from part 1 and part 2, so that you have them to study from.
Excuse me, would you put the website for a spreadsheet in the chat? How you go there?
How did I create it?
Yeah,
Do you have a Gmail account?
yes.
Okay, so if you go to, let me show you.
I type it doc.google.com.
No, I'll show you. So you go to your email, that you sign in, then you go up here where it says the Google Apps.
Oh, okay.
Click here and
Okay.
click on Sheets.
Oh,
And then you can create them as you'd like. This was just a blank sheet, so I can click blank, and I can start to create it how I'd like to create it.
okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. As long as you have a Gmail account, that is an application that you can use for free with your Gmail account. So Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, those are the Google apps that are very similar to Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint.
Wow.
The only difference is money.
Yeah.
With Google, you get those apps for free. With Microsoft, you have to pay. It's not free anymore. So, I mean, I think it was 2 years ago. I canceled my membership because I don't remember the last time that I used anything from Microsoft, and I was paying $99 a year. And I said, why do I use this if I don't use it? I have these same applications with the same functionality on Google, and they're free. So you have to think about what is best for you.
Thank you.
So Raul, we probably should also point out, you can also, like, if you're a much more less techie kind of person, you can also just use a notebook, or, you know, I have some big sheets of paper. You can also just do that. And we do encourage you, when you've had an interview, on your way out of the interview, like on the way home, if you're not driving on the way home, if you're catching a train or something, but as soon as possible after the interview, write down some notes. So ask yourself the question, you know, now I've seen the place and I've talked to some of the people maybe who work there, like, do I still want to work there? You know, and what impressed me about the place, and do I have some more questions? But just write down those immediate impressions, and especially any questions that you might still have that maybe you need to ask. So it's always good to have like that notebook. Take it with you to the interview, just slip it in your purse, but be prepared as soon as possible after the interview to write down some impressions and some thoughts, because by the time a day's gone by, you will start forgetting. And it's very important to keep really good track, because especially if you go for maybe 4 interviews, it gets a bit woolly and you're like, ooh, was it that lady? Did I think that? You know, so it's really important to write good notes. And it can just be in a notebook. I think Raul's way of doing it is really good. It's very well organized. But if you can't do that, there's nothing wrong with just using a piece of paper. Okay. You know, it's just important to write all these things down, because you do forget that.